face prosecution for what they've done, and some of them are just as brutal and just as guilty as Muammar al-Gaddafi himself. Muammar al-Gaddafi, gradually as he took power, he used force and he used brutality in the 70s against the students, where he publicly hung students who were marching, demonstrating, demanding rights in Benghazi and in Tripoli and in many other squares. He executed his opposition members abroad in the 80s, including here in London, in other places in Europe and in Arab Middle East countries. He executed probably the most brutal massacre that we saw. 1,200 prisoners in the Abu Slim prison who were unarmed. They were prisoners. They were in jail already. He executed them within a less than a 3-hour period. So these kind of brutalities is not a surprise to us as Libyans. However, nobody could expect that he would have this kind of a reaction to the uprising that happened in Libya. People were marching on the streets demanding their constitution, to have a constitution, to have their own democracy, to have their voices heard, to have a better life, a country that is earning billions and billions of dollars of oil revenue, where they don't even see anything reflected in their lives from that, their children being killed, their mothers being widowed, etc. This is what the people were asking for, and they were immediately met with live bullets, missiles, RPG, rocket-propelled grenades, things that you use in war, what two armies used against each other. In this case, security forces, were using it against unarmed civilians. This is unimaginable. This is something that you only see in movies.
Mr. Abdullah, usually, looking back at the speech again, and usually when leaders threaten their people, it's quite often veiled. They say something along the lines of, "You will bear the consequences of your actions." This seemed to be far more explicit and overt. How dangerous and ominous is that, in your opinion?
It's very dangerous because, like you mentioned, normally it's hidden within other messages. In this case, the message was clear from day one of the uprising, but at the same time, I think Gaddafi's speech and the way he was reacting, even his body language, his heavy breathing, even his clothes was ripped. If you noticed, he was not in a normal place that he typically gives his speeches at. All of this is a reflection of a regime that's basically being toppled. There's very few people who remain around him. The first person that came up to meet him and hug him was one of his kids, Saadi al-Gaddafi. I think his inner circle right now is very small. Thus, he had to bring in even more mercenaries to try to execute his objectives of toppling this uprising.
Both of you have mentioned the mercenaries. The mercenaries are not a new concept when it comes to Libya. These mercenaries have been used for decades by Muammar al-Gaddafi. Mr. Al-Mesmari, tell us about the dynamic between Muammar Gaddafi and those mercenaries and how they help keep him in power.
No. Just let's make something clear. Those mercenaries may be being used for decades, but they were not acting against Libyans. Now they are acting against Libyans, and their operation is against Libya for the simple reason, because he has no more trust in the armed forces. And you know that because most of the armed forces, they went and let him down, and they went to the people. The security, the police, most of them, they are letting him down, and they are going with the people. So he has no trust, and he is using these mercenaries against the Libyans from parts of Africa. Not only that, because this Mirage, they went to Malta and this and that, now he has mercenaries pilot in the armed force, in the air force, and he using them. This is what I heard that coming from Tripoli, that some of the pilots was coming.
Sorry to interrupt you. How does he recruit these mercenaries, and which African countries do they come from?
Well, it's very easy to know that some of them are from Guinea, and they are very poor. I'm sorry to say that, but this is the reality. They are poor. He pays them with the money of the people. Some of them are from Chad. Some of them are from Niger. And they are not from government sources. They are not from government sources, say to say. They are local people, ex-army officers or ex-army soldiers, and they are homeless or they are without jobs, so they recruit them. And to recruit them, they are killing everybody. Today I have seen they are burying people on the seashore For the simple reason they get lost after. Nobody can find them because they go with the water. And nobody can go to their grave and pray on their grave. On top of that, some of the dead people being burned. And so nobody knows who is that and who is the other one. What is this? I mean, this is just to be sitting on this seat and to be in charge. He said that I am not in power. He said the power is for the people. Okay, the people came out in the street and said, we don't want. Okay, let them do what they want. They want a constitution, let them do their constitution. They want the law, this is the right. How you can run a country without a constitution? How you can run a country and then you say this is revolutionary command? Revolutionary command, it doesn't exist. After 40 years, we are still in revolutionary command? No, sorry to say that.
Mr. Al-Masmari,
I mean,
you were part of the inner circle. Many people have broken ranks. Many people have walked away from Muammar Gaddafi. But his sons, particularly Saif al-Islam, we heard from him, his sons are holding firm to their father's leadership. Tell us about the relationship between the sons and their father.
Well, you know, they are sometimes they are with and some against. Even the brothers in themselves, don't agree to each other. I know that. They don't agree to each other. And yesterday, I have seen the circle around him. I haven't seen the officers of the security around him, which I know. They were not there. The others, which they were in civilian, they are employees. They are from the cabinet. The only one in uniform was his son, Saadi. That's all. But where is Ma'asem Billah? Where is Saif al-Islam? Where is Hannibal? Where is Khamis? I haven't seen. Unless they are in the operation rooms, this is something else. But believe me, I mean, there is no trust in the armed forces. Now he's saying that he's sending around the officers in the free officers to the tribes. The tribes does not accept anyone. They don't accept even the chief of tribes because they are fed up.
Okay,
they are tired.
Let's ask Muhammad Ali Abdullah about that. What do you think? Do you think that the tribes don't trust any of them, as Mr. Al-Masmari said?
No, of course. I mean, the wall of trust is broken a long time ago. I mean, when you see this kind of bloodshed and this kind of brutality, right now the tribes are made up of people. They're made up of Libyans. They're made up of humans who have a conscience. And the tribal bond in Libya goes way beyond Muammar Gaddafi. And that kind of bond overwhelms any kind of directive given by someone just because they're going to try to use force or try to manipulate or try to buy off someone. The tribal leaders in Libya, the real true tribal leaders in Libya have been marginalized. Gaddafi, that was one of the first things, in addition to the armed forces, as mentioned, he's marginalized them. He has basically scaled down their ability to be able to be effective within the society, within Libya. This is part of his mentality. He cannot accept that anyone else can be anywhere near his level of power. Therefore, anything that's within his level of influence, it has to be marginalized, including tribal leaders. Right now, within the Libyan society, there's what we call the real tribal leaders.